All right, time for another DraftPhysics.com, debatephysics.com also. So there's a bunch of 5-minute videos there uh, detailing all the ways that experimentally kinetic energy fails entirely. And none of those videos are being refuted by these morons. They just keep making comments, okay, reciting the same redundant nonsense that a velocity is 9.8 meters per second, just like you say 60 miles an hour. You don't say 60 miles an hours squared. But somehow an acceleration is some sort of special thing. So it's not just adding a velocity. You know, if I want to increase this 9.8 to 10, I don't add zero point 0.2 meters per second. I add zero point 0.2 meters per second squared. Why would I do that? It's retarded. Okay, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. An acceleration is just a velocity you're adding, and you can add it constantly, that is, over and over again per a unit of time. That's why the S is there. But you don't add it. Goes back to like saying something like 5 square meters versus 5 meters squared. 5 meters squared is a different number. It's 25. 5 square meters is just 5 square meters. It's no more than 5 square meters. This is where they play a game with just simple logic. So this isn't even mathematics. It's just the simplest of logic, and they're cheating, okay, to create a fake mechanism, to create fake answers. And the argument is, I don't care. Go ahead and cheat. Just show me a piece of evidence demonstrating that your stupid answers are correct. So when you say it has a certain number of joules, let's see the experiment where you show me it has that many joules. And again, it fails when it comes to a rocket's thrust. It fails. It fails in the ballistic pendulum. It fails in the lever test. And it fails in the weight test. Okay? It fails every single test. So your obligation is to show me a test that it successfully passes. All right. Instead, they do this gibberish. So I got an email, same as the comment gibberish, but anyway, I'll read it. I told somebody, look, I'll tell you, if you're blocked, you can still send arguments. But if they're really bad, like I said, there's a point where I'm just not going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I've said my piece. Okay, you say it's squared seconds when it's an acceleration. I'm saying it's just a velocity you're adding. And the squared seconds is just an excuse to later square the velocity. So I'm saying there's no need for it to exist. It doesn't make any logical sense. A square meter is not the same as squared meters. So fuck you. Okay, I'm not playing it no more. So I'm just going to block comments. And I'm not going to read comments that just want to play a mathematical game. Play an evidence game. If you can't play the evidence game, I'm not interested. All right? They're simple experiments. 4 pounds dropped 1 foot, 1 pound dropped 4 feet. Something like that in a clinical, well-done experiment, okay, is a piece of evidence. That's what you need. Evidence. All right. The kinetic energy equation, this is some guy called Jason. I'll leave it at that. Okay. The kinetic energy equation does not say it takes 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. So it's an amazing statement. So what am I supposed to argue with? People who believe in free energy. You can just spontaneously make as much energy as you want. Well, it doesn't make any sense at all to say that energy is anything other than transfers, that you have to have energy to make energy. You can't take something that's not moving and go, hey, I'll just wait for it to do something and collect the energy. It's not going to happen. I mean, so he starts with a ludicrous statement that 99% of physicists, I think, would say, you can't say that, okay? That's not right. You have to fuel anything that has energy. It has to be fueled. It has to come from somewhere. Nothing has energy, period, the end. Okay, it all is either in the form of an overt force, okay, which is glaringly energy in its most elemental form, or you have to explain where the material object acquired its capacity to give you energy. All right. The kinetic energy equation says something going 5 meters per second with a mass of 1 pound has a kinetic energy of 12.5 joules, and something going 25 meters a second with a mass of 1 pound has a kinetic energy of 312. So he's admitting that this is what the formula says, is that you have this quadratic increase in the amount of joules. So because he says right there, it doesn't take the fuel, but he explains right here that you certainly get the energy. So it's just free energy. You can't get more energy out of the same mechanism, the same momentum. Nothing in there says anything about fuel. So yes, but it's fundamental to physics. I say most physicists understand the law of conservation. They understand there's some rule that you can't just spontaneously create energy, that it really has to be coming from something. You have to fuel a rocket, you have to fuel a car, you have to fuel anything that's going to acquire joules of energy. If it's going to create joules of energy like a light bulb, or it's going to do anything, you're going to have to fuel it. I mean, this is just so fucking goddamn irritating that you can't do better than this crap. It's so insulting, to have my intelligence insulted with arguments this frickin' bad. All right. That is just saying something going 5 times as fast will leave 25 times the kinetic energy we'll have. And again, what does that mean? It won't have it because it can't do anything. It can't show that it has 25 times the energy. You can't convert it into 25 times the energy. You can't make it do 25 times the energy worth of work. It doesn't do work. It's not real energy. It's fake, phony fraud is the whole argument. The lighter bowling ball going twice as fast, the half as mass bowling ball going twice as fast will not knock down more of anything on Earth. It won't do it. All right. If you say acceleration and distance per time, what I'm saying is when you're doing distance times time divided by time, you're putting into the equation not what a velocity is, the added velocity. You're putting in how you measured it, okay, which is different than just saying this is what it is. It'll be some units of meters per 1 unit of time. That's always how it's going to be referenced. It's not going to be time squared. It's just going to be a unit of time, 1 unit of whatever time you're using to make your units consistent. So there's absolutely zero reason to square the time. Okay, and distance divided by time squared is not the same as distance divided by time, then squaring the distance and the time. Well, says you it's not a difference. So again, it's a square. It can't be ignored. So what does it mean? Oh, you're telling me it means squared seconds, and it doesn't mean second squared? What does squared seconds mean? Yeah, right, exactly. Doesn't mean anything. Saying per second, putting a square on there and saying, well, I didn't mean you square the seconds. That's bullshit. Okay. If you say acceleration is distance divided by time, yes, exactly. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Then you are claiming speed. Well, so, okay, I'm not going to argue with assholes who think there's a difference between a speed and a velocity. If you think speed can happen and you don't have a direction, then there's no point in me arguing with you, because that's worse than flat earth science. To believe you can have a speed without having a direction is as ludicrous as telling me the earth is flat. Fuck you, too stupid. All right. The magnitude of the velocity is the same as the acceleration. I don't know what that means, but which is factually wrong. So he's saying that the magnitude of the velocity is the same as the acceleration. So he's somehow telling me that these two numbers aren't the same thing. That adding 9.8 meters per second squared, whatever that would be somehow, when I added it with the squared or without the squared, that somehow I would get a different total number. No, the number is 19.6. That's all I have. per second as a velocity. That's all it can do. The acceleration can't do anything more than add to the velocity. That's all an acceleration is. You're just adding a unit of velocity to the velocity. Or subtracting, of course. Momentum and energy or kinetic energy don't have the same units, so this is really nonsense. That somehow all units can't be converted to any other unit. The units have to be convertible because they all have to be proportional. So they all have to be convertible. You can convert pounds into the kilogram. And you can do it to the ounces and the grams and all of it. All of it is convertible because all of it is in proportional units. There's no such thing as a disproportional unit. They're all capping. 1 pound, 2 pounds is 2 1 pounds. 3 pounds is 3 1 pounds. That's the way they all work. All right, so they can't be used the same thing. So that's another statement. It's just scientifically nonsense, okay? It's dumber than Leibniz. Leibniz wouldn't even say anything that fucking stupid. All right, units are important. For what? Yeah, no, I'm sorry. We could use the quack of a duck for an energy term. We could use any sick fucking unit, and you know it. It's just idiotic to say the units make any goddamn difference. You're just saying it weighs 2 frogs or it weighs 3 frogs. And as long as you use 1 frog to decide how much a frog weighs. Units are important and are basic. And yes, you're the one perverting them. Absolutely perverting them. And claiming there's something called a squared second. That in the physical universe, I can find a reason to believe that there's something called a squared second or a cube of time. Yeah, well, fuck you. All right. You don't understand the basics to talk about even high school level physics. Well, I'm arguing that the proof is you're the coward, okay? And that's what you are, a coward. All right, yeah, you sent me an email, but I don't even know if it's your real name. Okay, you're not putting your name on any of your gibberish here. And this was absolute gibberish. This shouldn't be taught to anybody because it's absolutely wrong. Somebody shouldn't even read this to a cat, okay, because the cat might believe something you said, and you're an idiot, a lying sack of shit idiot, you coward. So I've just pointed out why some of the things you said are factually wrong. So there's no facts here, there's no evidence here at all, and he made claims that are absolutely preposterous. That is, you don't need fuel to make energy happen. You want to see an energetic event, you don't need to fuel it with anything. It'll just poof into existence. And or can't be true. So you didn't do any of that, you coward. This is why you were blocked. It's because you're a lying coward. Alright, Gary, you are a lying coward. You are so scared of people to actually point out why you're wrong. So there's nothing pointing out I was wrong here. No citation to a single piece of evidence. No citation to a single physicist saying any of this crap that you just spewed. Nothing to demonstrate anything you just said was accurate. All right, this shows that you are ashamed of your claims. Liar, liar, obviously. And you don't want to acknowledge why you are wrong. So I'm not going to read any more comments like this, okay? This isn't what I'm going to waste my time doing. This is all bullshit. You haven't countered any of my arguments. It's in the fucking goddamn, it's a fucking proven fact. And you liars really should, you're criminally lying about the actual circumstance. You're slandering me and my physics. All right, and you should pay a price for that, you lying sack of shit. You fucking coward to boot. Okay. Let's see, people, let's see, you are scared for people to read the comments. That's obviously not the reason why. The reason is that I'm not going to answer them in text. And so there's just no reason to leave the comment up, especially when it's just noise. It is absolutely without any credibility at all. Okay, you are scared of people actually point out why you are wrong. You didn't do any of that. So you're just saying the same thing to remove the comments. You block them. This shows that you're ashamed of your claim. So it doesn't do any of that stuff. So I'm not going to read any more comments like this. I'm just going to insta block because this is not a physics fucking argument. So you can't even figure what a physics argument looks like, what a scientific argument looks like. You fucking useless piece of shit. I mean, if I would have read that ahead of time, the rest of that stupid email, I wouldn't have bothered reading it. Okay, because it's just a waste of fucking time. He obviously didn't do anything that he claimed to be doing in terms of demonstrating anything I said to be incorrect. He didn't fucking cite a single sentence I said and prove that it was wrong. And instead, he counter-argued with nonsense that somehow you don't have to fuel energy, which is just that nonsense. All right, so I'll read this other asshole's comment, and maybe it's the same comment, frankly, but yeah, we'll see. All right, so he starts with dude, all right, which is, you know, would you really say that to Einstein or anybody else? You'd call them dude, right? Because you're so familiar and you're so superior. Yeah, fuck you. Okay. You're really not, you know, you don't have enough merit to even eat my shit. All right, you increase the mass, yes, the velocity will change due to the conversion of momentum, so whatever that even means. Oh, conservation, sorry, of momentum. So it doesn't even make any sense. We're talking about two different formulas that have completely different definitions of what the something weighs, what the something produces as an output, how many watts of energy are coming out of it. They're two completely different answers, and it doesn't matter what units they're in, because if you convert the units, they're completely different answers. All right, but that doesn't mean Ke equals 1/2 mv squared is wrong. Well, of course it does, because the answer doesn't actually do any work. So if the answer can't do work, if it can't move anything, if it can't change anything, then it's not real, you idiot. Okay. So I'm asking you to show me the experiment where the kinetic energy you claim actually does work, actually obeys the Newton's third law. So in all the thrust examples, it doesn't obey Newton's third law. If you calculate the thrust based on the particle's kinetic energy that you're shooting out of the spaceship, you'll get this gigantic number, and the spaceship will not move with that gigantic number. It will only move in an equal and opposite manner to the momentum, because the momentum is the only thing that's real. All right. Because you are able to get speed to v, so getting speed to v is fine, but the whole argument is what that v number is going to be. You're squaring it. So let's just understand the concept that you're saying it's a squared velocity, and you're going to get this gigantic amount of extra that you're not going to have in momentum, because momentum doesn't square the mass. You know, there's no correlating distortion of reality in momentum. All right, notice I say the speed as this is a scalar. So it's not being smug for me to say, what the fuck are you talking about, douchebag? Okay, there's no scalar and vector for a speed or a velocity. And again, if that's your premise, I'm saying it is as imbecilic as flat earth gibberish. There's absolutely no way I can rationally conceive of a velocity without a direction. It's just a waste of my time. Why would I waste any time at all trying to contemplate the existence of a velocity without a direction? So don't be all smug saying you should be saying velocity. I'm not going to say either one. I'm going to say, look, we'll just deal with the squared part, because there's no evidence there's a quadratic increase in the energy. So until you can show an experiment where there's a quadratic increase in the energy, you don't have an argument. And the absolute fact is that your science has tested nothing. It's crashed no cars, it's dropped no weights, it's swung no pendulums, it has done nothing. It's tied, it's made a tug of war between objects with different amounts of kinetic energy and proved nothing. And again, all I'm arguing is you can even do it as, you know, I probably did the experiment as a kid with my, trains that I used to catch on fire and do other things too. But I mean, the point is that you know it already. You already know. You know, if I take a 10 mass going 5 and a 5 mass going 10, nobody's going to win that tug of war. You already know that. And here you are typing this gibberish. You know it. I know you know it. You know that if I, no matter how I contrive this experiment, you know there's going to be no evidence that the lighter object has the capacity to show that it has 4 times the energy or 6 times the energy or 10 times the energy. It will not happen. And you goddamn know it. You know that if I increase the size of one car, its mass, all right, and I increase the velocity of the other car, that it's always going to be a tie. If I proportionally change those objects and do the experiment, so I got to have a 10-ton truck going 5 miles an hour, and I got to have a 1-ton car going 50 miles an hour, and the result is going to be the car is not going to decisively win, even though it has 100 times more energy. So you're just all such fucking weaselly liars. All right, kinetic energy would be greater than lower mass. The equation is derived from calculus. So the fact that you can use calculus, you don't need calculus. So again, it's just more of a lie. Leibniz didn't use calculus. He just merely stated it as a premise that it actually happens in the physical universe. He claims 4 pounds dropped 1 foot is the same as 1 pound dropped 4 feet. Even though the 1 pound dropped 4 feet is only in the gravity twice as long, it's only going twice as fast, it only weighs twice as much. It's obviously not true. It's just based on a false premise. So don't be telling me you derived something to get this equation. This equation wasn't created through calculus, you liar. Which I doubt you know anything about. I don't need to know anything about it. But I obviously know what an integral is, and that's all calculus is. I would love to see you try. I'd love to see you. So why don't you ever do the equation, just put the numbers right in from the beginning. Put the numbers in right in the beginning. You know them all already. So quit deriving equations and actually solve the equation with the numbers in right from the start. And if they did that, I'm telling you right away they're going to notice 1 second times 1 second is not second squared. It's 1 second squared. That's all you can. If you're going to keep the squared, you're still stuck with 1 second squared. You're not going to be able to do anything with it. You're not going to be able to do your multiplying the units that have a 1 in front of them that you ignore. So I'd love to see that. Oh, so he's going to derive again. So we've been over and over this so many fucking times. It's just such a waste of time for you to do this with this. It's not even, you can't even read what you're writing because you can't put the squared signal in right and all this other stuff. So it really is just such a waste of goddamn time. You can't do it right. You can't link to it done right. You can't link to a better example of the derivative being done than this shit that you're going to write in a YouTube comment section. Amazing. Via energy conservation, the work will go into kinetic energy. Amazing. So there's no evidence it ever does work. And there's no evidence there's no evidence I can use 5 times the fuel and get 25 times the energy. There's no evidence I can do that. All right, KE integral FD. So F equals MA. So we know that's not Newton's physics, and we know it would be harmless if you didn't square the A. So if you just said that the A is just going to be an added velocity, there wouldn't be a problem. But that's not what you're going to do. So he's going dt to bet all this using blah, 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 and then he's going to do polynomial integration. Let's see. So KE equals 1/2 v squared plus c. So why are we adding that? For no good reason, right? Okay. So somehow he jumped from nothing being squared to the velocity being squared. So he says k equals m integral integer. I guess it's integral. I don't know. I can't even read this notation. So what's the point? Of v times dv. So again, this idea that you're multiplying it, why would you multiply the velocity that was with the change in the velocity? You don't multiply those, you just add those. All right, anyway, it's just no point. And that's also where Newton's law come into things. So again, it's absolutely against everything Newton believed, everything Newton said. So it's just a lie to say Newton believed you square the velocity. There's no indication anywhere in Newton's text indicating he ever squared the velocity for this purpose. So it's just nonsense that he had any idea that energy quadratically increases with velocity. There's no indication he believed that, so you're just a liar. And you're lying not only about me and what I've said, but you're lying about Isaac Newton. Also, you misunderstand that momentum can be given into the air and the earth. And nice job for deleting my comment without reading it, so lie again. I had a lot more to say on the actual physics, but nope. Look, there's no point. If this is your premise, this lying, I'm not going to waste my time unraveling fucking paragraphs of shit that isn't true. I've told you, it's really simple. Just show me a piece of fucking evidence. And you can't do it. So you're just proving the point. Let's see, you should say 5440. He really doesn't care about your derivation. Yes, that's right. I don't give a fuck. Okay? Because it's first not physics. It's first not a physical reality. I've already pointed out the gimmick 600 times. 9.8 meters per 1 second. That's all you can do. That's all you can add, and that's all there is. There is no seconds squared. It's in 1 unit seconds. It wouldn't be 9.8 if there wasn't a 1 in front of that fucking S. So without a 1 in front of that fucking S, it's not 9.8. You lying sacks of shit. And that's all you are. Liars. And I'm quite sick of it. So fuck you. Ugh. Just amazing. Let's see. Seems you may have an incorrect link. Yes, I fixed the link. Okay. So we'll get rid of that. Dude, I derived the whole thing and you just skipped it. Oh, we just did that, didn't we? Didn't I just do this comment? It starts with the same shit over again? Hilarious. Let's see. You are a lost cause. Well, yes, so are you. So why don't you just fuck off, okay? I hope you get exactly what you deserve in your stinking, lying, scurvy, fucking miserable life, you fucking piece of shit. Okay, if I could challenge you to a duel and have the opportunity to shoot you in the fucking head, I would love the opportunity, because you're a shit. You're a piece of crap. You're a piece of human goddamn garbage, and you represent the garbage that's in this goddamn world. You're all a bunch of lying pieces of shit. All right? I mean, these arguments are not even difficult. Gravity creates heat. Are you going to deny it? Are you going to say that heat isn't energy? Are you going to deny that fact too? I mean, how fucking stupid and dishonest do you people have to be? All right. I mean, it's clear your physics is garbage. And it is so fucking, as the modern mystic would say, girly pathetic. Your wooey little wormholes and all this fucking entangled. Oh, we were entangled. It's such sissy shit to boot. It's goddamn creepy sissy. If you read it carefully, you will see how naturally it comes. It comes naturally. Oh, you people are just so fucking perverse. I think you are confusing the formulas. What's the confuse? mv equals E versus 1/2 mv squared equals E. Oh, is there something confusing about those two fucking formulas? No, there isn't. Does one get right answers always? Yes. Does the other one fail every single time you change the mass? Yes. The formula for kinetic energy tells us this, whatever this is again. So what is this F, and now he has change in R? What is that? Just say the force. What's this? What else are you adding to it or subtracting? Okay, and it does not equal the change in KE, whatever the change in the KE is. I've heard you make an argument that force changes momentum, not kinetic energy. Yes, in every single fucking case. That's all force can do. And it works in every single fucking case. The gun is actually producing the same energy in both directions. The gun recoil is obeying Newton's third law, not violating it. Your theory is there's no third law. Guns don't obey third laws. They produce more energy one way than they produce the other way. That's your fucking idiotic theory that fails. A simple test like that. All right. This is this is particularly correct. What is that? Huh? I don't know what that means. Okay, in the formula, you can see that force times displacement. So now they're using this little fake word again, another little sissy bullshit queer word. Oh, let's not just talk distance. Let's talk about some weird thing called the displacement. As if this is real in any other circumstance than, let's say, gravity. I mean, gravity is about the fact that you can go in all kinds of directions and you're not fighting the gravity. Every time you go sideways, you're not fighting the gravity. You're only fighting the gravity when you go in one direction. So you could go in all kinds of crookedy manner, and really your change in actual force is just the amount of distance between the surface and the location you ended up with. But, you know, this is just baby talk again. This is just this distracting nonsense, perverse, scalar versus vector, when it's always a vector. Okay. Gives us the change in kinetic energy, not the force alone. So it doesn't even mean anything. Math is the most rigorous logical framework, and you're saying blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not. I'm saying you're lying. Your math is a lie. Your formulas do not get right answers. They're critically flawed. Your kinetic energy formula, I'm claiming, always gets the wrong answer because there is no v squared. So every single time it's wrong. It's a wrong amount of weight. It's a wrong amount of heat. It's always wrong, and it gets exponentially or quadratically wrong. So the faster something going, the more wrong it gets. All right, when reading it, it doesn't disprove anything. Your statements don't prove or disprove anything. The fact that you can't link to a single piece of experimental evidence demonstrating that your formula actually got a right answer, that you actually tested how much energy the thing had, and said, look, it matches. You've never done it, jackass. Okay, it only shows that you neither understand nor want to understand the topic you're claiming to be an expert in. Well, fuck you. All right, and he comments in his own comment, like the douchebag that he is. Oh, and by the way, I'm not shit-talking. Well, you just did a bunch of nothing. You didn't prove anything, you didn't show anything, you didn't explain anything, you just used, you just said, displacement. Aren't you impressed? I said displacement. Scalar displacement. Isn't that all I have to do? Isn't that a physics argument? Shit. Okay, I'm just observing you making claims out of thin air. The claim is you have zero evidence. That's the only claim I need to make. The only one I personally have to say is show me. You can't show me anything. You have a God theory, okay? I have no obligation to pay any goddamn attention. I can piss on it all the fuck day long until you show me one fucking shred of evidence indicating there's any reason whatsoever to ever think energy is somehow tied to velocity squared. Why don't you perform an experiment? Why don't you perform an experiment? So again, what a hypocrite, a duplicitous hypocrite. You've had over 300 years and all of the scientific money, tons, trillions of dollars added up. It's trillions of dollars, and you can't drop 4 pounds 1 foot and 1 pound 4 feet. Fuck you in the ass till dead, you duplicitous hypocrite. All right, you know even the experimental physics you have to know math, right? Why? You're telling me whatever you're saying, I have to know math. I don't even understand the concept. I'm watching a 10 mass going 5, and I'm watching a 5 mass going 10. Now, what fucking math do I have to know when I see that, oh, neither one of them wins the tug of war, it's the same energy? What math do I need to know? But the point is I know the math. I know what a mass is, and I know what a velocity is. And I obviously know it so much better than you because I haven't perverted it into this whatever 15, well, I won't even say it, into the scalar. Yeah. All right. Let's see. He does agree with the formula. He does not agree with the formula. He has different axioms which are yet to be proven to be logically sound and formally divined by him. So again, whatever that even means. The logically sound part is obvious. Momentum is logically sound. I could just go back to Newton and point out that Newton made it pretty clear. Twice the force, twice the velocity. 3 times the force, 3 times the velocity. All right, indicating that the two things are tied together. You could probably find some other arguments where he used weight, okay, in talking about gravity. And there was no indication that something didn't do anything but go twice as fast and weigh twice as much. But whatever. The point is if you're the ones with no evidence, so you're making an argument for 300 years with no evidence. I'm just making the argument you don't have any evidence. It's a religion. Okay, this isn't science. You're not Darwin. You're not showing me a fossil. You're not showing me anything in the geology. You're not showing me any reason to believe your fable. And for you to have the right to preach your fable. And I'm saying, well, yeah, my theory is better than yours. It works better. It, in my opinion, ties everything together and is universal, so mine wins. Mine can show you what charges are doing. And it can show you why charges do what they do. Yours can't do that. So that's a huge difference. Okay. But fuck you. Oh, fuck, not this stupid mophead asshole again. So you're done too, probably, Mr. Mop. Okay, you had your chance. I've done it already. You know, I don't have an obligation to go round and round with this moronic shit of yours. I didn't understand your reply. Well, it was pretty simple. You're only talking about 10 miles an hour. You have to either move the whole box or you have to move the electrons inside the object. There's no other two things you can move. Either you move the electrons or you move the whole box. And the point is if you move just the electrons, if they're not moving the whole box, they have to go back to where they were. So that really isn't that hard to understand, is it? The energy is either getting reflected or it goes into the box and moves the box. You can't do both and you can't do neither. Okay, I understand your reply. It didn't run, so let me try another one. No, I don't really, this is just a waste of time. Anyway, we have two balls equal mass. One is stationary, the other one is about to get hit with the 10 mile. We place a spring. So again, he's going to turn an elastic into a super elastic for no good reason. With negligible mass between them. So why, this isn't a real experiment. So you're just playing games again. The 10 mile per hour ball hits the spring and starts to slow down. Same time the other one's going faster. Because the forces are equal and opposite, we know that at some point the ball will be traveling 5 miles per hour. Yes, both of them. This conserves the momentum, and now we also have a compressed spring. And you have two balls that are moving in opposite directions at 5 miles an hour. That's after the spring is done, though. So you can't, so again, he's pretending that one of them's going 10 miles an hour and one of them's going 5. No, the spring is still compressed. Let's see. So he's saying we have one mass going 5 this way and a one mass going 5 that way. And the spring still has the power to push both. When it doesn't, it's all done. That's the 10. The spring can't still have power to push them when it's already pushing a total of mass, okay, which is now 10 at half the speed. So it's already done. There's twice the mass moving half the speed. That's all the momentum the spring could possibly produce. So it's done. It's not going to make can't make any more energy. So the fact that the other 5 is just going to go slid into the other one, because you're saying it's a purely elastic. So we know when it's purely elastic, none of this shit's going to happen anyway, right? I mean, the spring's going to compress and the other ball's just going to fly off the spring. So we know that both of them aren't going to be going these speeds. So again, you're making the argument that really isn't seen in any slow motion that I've seen of how the spring actually works. All right, this conserves the momentum, and we also have a compressed spring, which we can use to create heat. So again, so he's trying to argue that it is free energy then. So not really a very bright thing to do, in my opinion. Back to Leibniz-Newton's conversation. Conversation, yes. It wasn't Leibniz-Newton, it was the other guy, Clark. You probably don't see my latest reply in the comment chain. Yeah, I'm done with it. One of the points I wanted to make was that you disagree with both Newton and Leibniz. So again, I don't even understand that point. I disagree with Newton about what exactly? I mean, my disagreements with Newton are pretty goddamn subtle, frankly. I don't agree the third law is about an equal and opposite reaction. I believe the third law is about the fact that you can't have energy if you gave it away. Okay. The controversy actually started between Leibniz and Descartes. Of course, Leibniz didn't like Descartes first. Descartes was dead and easy to pick on. Like you, Descartes believed that MV was always conserved. Yes, but he also believed that the universe was made out of ether, mush, goo, jello, something. He thought all space was occupied by matter, and so it was a very congested universe. But it doesn't really matter. He did believe in quantity of motion, and he believed it was constantly conserved. Yes. Is the magnitude and velocity of speed. Leibniz rejected this, which is a big point against Leibniz, right? I mean, it's just, how can you reject it? It never gets a wrong answer. And so did Newton. So Newton did not reject MV. So that's just, you have to prove that to me. There's absolutely no evidence. Newton didn't agree with Descartes on the fact that there was no empty space, because Newton was a big advocate for empty space. And Newton didn't agree that there's a bunch of swirly stuff causing gravity. So obviously Newton's theory of gravity was so much better. And what I actually read is when Newton was saying the famous line about "I've stood on the shoulders of giants," he was actually saying it about Descartes. So he was saying, if I have seen further than Descartes. Descartes died when Newton was 8 years old. Okay. So Newton's saying, if I have seen farther than Descartes. So he's kind of pointing out that Descartes was amazing. And he's saying, I've only done it because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. So that's a pretty big tribute to Descartes, don't you think? Fuckhead. All right. So anyway, like you, Descartes believed in MV was always conserved, and so did Newton. Leibniz rejected this, and so did Newton. So I'm saying no, Newton didn't. Huygens and pretty much everybody. So big lie. We know these people were all called Newtonians. It wasn't like a big lie. It was like the Newtonians hated Leibniz, and that's just a fact. So keep pretending. Leibniz, nobody showed up for his funeral. Nobody. No one. All right. Then the controversy continued between Leibniz and Newton, or their followers. Yes, and it was basically Newton's surrogates because, frankly, Newton had a real job now. He wasn't a physicist anymore. He was, head of the mint and all this other bullshit. They argue about which one is true fundamental quantity of motion, mv squared or mv. Yes, that went on for 100 years. Here, v in velocity is a vector quantity. Well, there's no other way to have speed or velocity. So again, if I have to keep saying this to you pieces of garbage, there's no such thing as speed without direction. There's no such thing as scalar velocity or scalar speed. It's a retarded concept. Insane. It's worse than retarded. It's mongoloidish. All right. You disagree with both of these. They did not argue about whether mv or mv squared was conserved in elastic collisions. So they didn't sit there and narrow things to elastic collisions, but they certainly disagreed. So just keep lying, fucker. Because at the time, nobody knew they both were conserved. They're not both conserved. So again, a big fucking lie. I mean, why do you have to keep doing this? Obviously, the ballistic pendulum loses 99.999, 94% of the kinetic energy. The 10-ton versus the 5-ton, half the energy is gone. You have no evidence it's anywhere else. You have no evidence, it made a lot of noise and it did this and it did that. You have no evidence, zero. So again, just absolute bullshit that it's conserved. Fucking lie. It's just an outrageous fucking lie. Okay, eventually people realized that both were equally valid, so that's a nonsense too. There's no people here involved. It's scientists, and the scientists accepted the completely wrong theory, and because they never tested it, they just accepted it. But it always got wrong answers. It continues to get wrong answers. If they used it to land on the moon, they would have crashed into the moon. Fact. So at least the NASA scientists were had enough character to say, let's not kill the astronauts for the sake of our physics. Let's do the right equation instead and save their lives. They realized that mv squared represents the product of force and distance, while mv represents the product of force and time. So again, and it's always about a force applied for a quantity of time. And that's all there is in the universe. All right. Then finally, about using... So, no, finally should be, show me a fucking piece of evidence, you weasel. So I'm going to... I'll just remove this comment. If your next comment doesn't have evidence in it, you're blocked. All right. Then finally, about using the momentum to solve equations. Here's an example. An object with 10 meters per second momentum hits an object with 0 momentum elastically. Can you solve what happens? So this is baby talk. I'm not here to do obvious equations where something bounces off of something. I mean, fuck that. Those are fucking experiments we all have already. I want you to show me evidence that a 5 mass going 10 has twice the fucking energy of a 10 mass going 5. Just show me fucking one piece of fucking experiment, old data, one piece of evidence showing that's absolutely true, you fucking lying sack of shit. And until you do that, don't bother commenting. You have zero evidence for your fucktarded religion, you fucking lying sack of shit. Okay. Yeah, that's all there are. I mean, really, so this is really proving something. I'm just saying, I mean, people can talk about idiocracy, but we're seeing it right here, so visually, right? This isn't about some dumb fucking creepoids breaking in and stealing shit and shoplifters and all of these, you know, all of these poor people being morons and fucktards. Right here, we have a perfect example of literate people who are lying scum. They can't admit something so fucking obvious, so fucking right there in their face that, oh yeah, we never did any experiments. We probably should have done some experiments before we built this whole fucking religion. You know, before we said the Holy Ghost did this and the Holy Ghost did that, we probably should have made sure there was a fucking Holy Ghost. I mean, amazing bullshit. I mean, just liar after liar after liar. No evidence, just shit talk, flat earth crap. All right? Yes, that's idiocracy. When people go to college to learn how to be lying sacks of fucking goddamn shit who think there's scalar velocity. Like, you're going, but you're not going anywhere. You have a tremendous speed, but you're not going around and around, and you're not going in a direction, and your speed is just this magical quantity that just sits there inside of you saying, I'm speedy. I don't have to go anywhere to prove I'm speedy. I'm speedy just by sitting here in one place and not moving anything. Nothing's moving at all, but I'm really speedy. Yeah. It's such a wonderful religion. Fucking. And again, this gravity argument is right there in your face. I mean, gravity is obviously giving objects motion. It's giving them momentum. They stay still if gravity doesn't affect them, and if gravity affects them, they move. They acquire a motion in a direction. They acquire kinetic energy. You'd have to admit, oh yes, look, they're acquiring a velocity, a speed, and yes, it has a direction, but we're going to call it kinetic energy anyway, because it's speed, even though it's not a velocity. Okay, it's speeding towards the Earth. And it got all of that speedy energy from the gravity. And yet the gravity's not making any energy. Gravity doesn't make energy. It doesn't give things velocity. It gives them speed. Oh, is that how they're going to do it? Yes. Yeah. No, the displacement just disappeared. The space disappeared, so they're not really moving. So they don't really have any energy because they're not really moving, because all we did was make the space go away. So when we made the space go away, they got closer together, but they didn't actually move. So nothing actually moves when gravity happens. Things just get closer together. And when they hit, that is like when the meteor hits, well, that might look like an explosion. It might look like a tremendous amount of energy. All this stuff is flying into the atmosphere. The dinosaurs all get hit by rocks and die. No, it's all so sad. but had nothing to do with the collision. The ground just exploded spontaneously. It just happens to be a coincidence that there just happened to be like a volcano or something at exactly the same time the asteroid hit, and it's just a coincidence. The asteroid didn't add any energy to the Earth. It didn't put any heat or pressure into the Earth. None of that happened. It was just a coincidence. You've heard of coincidences? Yeah, it's a coincidence. So the scientists were killed by a coincidence, not an asteroid or a meteorite or any of that, because none of those things could have actual energy, because the space just disappeared. They didn't move. They just got closer together. Yay! You're fucking idiots! Yeah. Oh, I just... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna... You're killing me. You're just killing me with stupidity. All right, so I think I've already blocked this idiot. But anyway, the energy formula is direct consequence from Newton's second law. So big fucking lie. All Newton said was the force equals the change in your momentum. And if you want to know it as a rate, then you divide it by time. So if you want to know 9.8 meters per second, well, then you do it as a time thing. But if you want to know the net amount of change, well, you just fuck the time and just say force equals change in your momentum. The force is momentum. Say it again. The force is actually momentum. And all you're doing is collecting it or rejecting it. That's what you can do. You can say fuck you to the force, or you can accept the force, and now you've gained its momentum. That's all there is, fucktards. Not any more complicated than that, fucktards. And your resistance is just showing that you are belligerently stupid. All right. Superior mind. You have F equals MA, where F and A are vectors. Well, at least he's calling them what they are, so very good. You figured out that, well, I don't, the acceleration clearly is just adding, you have to add it. If you're adding it, it's in the same direction, but obviously the vectors can be in different directions, and then your amount of acceleration has to change. But anyway, now if you know the basic linear algebra calculus, you'll have to multiply both sides by an infinitesimal vector of displacement. You will? So you get dr dot f. Okay, well, forget this part. Never mind. Fuck you. Get what you deserve, you piece of shit. Ugh. So no evidence will ever be produced. So let's just understand, this argument will keep taking place, and there'll never be any credible evidence ever produced. And let's understand the context. Physicist Michael, a physicist who teaches at a shitty little nothing college, but he teaches, did buy the materials to make a nice sized Newton cradle to do the free momentum experiment. The free, I can just put 100 in and I'll get 300 out. You know, he was going to do that experiment and prove it for us all. And he got the materials, built it, had a little couple of subtle problems with it, and never heard from him ever again. So that's the way their argument works. You challenge them, they don't meet the challenge, and instead of conceding, yeah, it doesn't really work, they just keep doing this. Prop up the lies, prop up the lies, prop up the lies. And why? Not because they actually wouldn't change their physics if somebody else said it. So if Sean Carroll said it, they would say, hey, that's a good point, Sean. Thank you. Yeah, we've been doing it all wrong, haven't we? Yeah, it is kind of silly. Oh, yeah, we sure did make a mistake. But it's just because I'm saying it, and I can't be right. I can't be vindicated. No. You know, that's what will destroy them. That's all they're running from. Gary was right. Oh. Yeah, it's hilarious. It's just hilarious how petty the idiocracy is. The idiocracy has just such a small goddamn penis. Oh, God. And it doesn't work. That's their real, you know, they just, oh, yeah. And they're pro-life. Oh, God. They're ugly, stupid, microed, oh, and they're still pro-life. Ugh. Pathetic. So if you didn't get the indication through the processing of this video, I hate your fucking guts. I hate this fucking planet. You're all fucking pieces of goddamn garbage, and you should get what you fucking goddamn deserve.